Hello, everyone. We're going to kick off the next session now. I hope everyone's hydrated. It's pretty hot outside. So I want to start the presentation today with a quote from a friend. The quote goes, "The future is being built on Bitcoin. You can either ignore it or fight it, but you can't beat it." My name is Haider. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at OKcoin. And with me I have, thank you. With me I have a friend, peer, and an old colleague, Patrick, who used to be the head of growth at Stacks, and he's now the founder at Freehold. So today we're here to talk about something that we consider Bitcoin and smart contracts. And before I get into that, I want to talk about why our company, OKcoin, cares about this. I think it's really important to set the stage on why we're here and we're addressing this topic. So in the last year, we've really made a very intentional effort to be very Bitcoin focused. The way we see the world is that Bitcoin serves as a foundational layer for all crypto markets. So if we all believe that, we think we have a role to play in fostering Bitcoin's growth. The way we've done that in the last 12 months is we've committed ourselves to Bitcoin Core Dev Grants. At this point, I think we have 6 dev grants that we've deployed about $1 million in of our own money with no commercial intent. Thank you. We're also the only exchange today that has integrated Lightning. So you can come onto our platform and use Lightning in real time. And lastly, we're also the only exchange where you can do some staking and earn Bitcoin rewards directly. So I hope that gives you guys a sense of our character, our mission, and what we're trying to do for Bitcoin and its adoption. But we haven't stopped there. I think our experience, generally, our belief is we're creating an experience that is ultimately a better way to Bitcoin. And I encourage everyone to give us a try and see if that is true. There is a lot of work ahead of us. But what's more exciting about us, about Bitcoin essentially, and the next wave is ultimately a role we can play in unlocking new utility applications that could bring perhaps a next big wave of Bitcoin adoption. And we think this can be done by deploying smart contracts using Bitcoin architecture. And I know that's controversial, but I've got our friend here, Patrick, to help us through that by walking us through the Stacks ecosystem and what they've been able to do in leveraging the Bitcoin architecture and deploying smart contracts. So with that, Patrick.
Thanks, gang. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Stacks ecosystem, smart contracts on Bitcoin. Let's do it. So first of all, the Stacks ecosystem has a whole new language than the Ethereum ecosystem. Ethereum has Solidity, which is kind of like a JavaScript type language. It's a language that you wouldn't want to build nuclear grade smart contracts in. I think what Ethereum has done in innovation is great, but it's time for innovation to happen in Bitcoin. What Clarity brings is smart contracts that have Bitcoin finality. If it didn't happen on Bitcoin, did it really happen? Predictability is another thing too. You know what's going to happen when you put out a Clarity smart contract. It's not left up for a guess. Another thing is there's no compiler. So a compiler is just another place where a bug can happen. So like you don't want bugs. Like if Bitcoin's going to get to, if Bitcoin's going to have another layer of like decentralized finance and other sorts of innovations, you're not going to want to have more surface area for bugs. I mentioned before, better use at scale, nuclear grade. And lastly, and very importantly, you can program Bitcoin yield. So we're actually doing this with a variety of different projects. And I think that's like a 10x improvement than other smart contracting language, because at the end of the day, what you really do, what everyone wants is Bitcoin at the end of the day. If you can program smart contracts that yield Bitcoin as a function of your actual, your protocol, I think that's amazing. So one thing we do is we reuse Bitcoin security. So Stacks consensus is reliant on recycling Bitcoin as opposed to creating its own proof of transfer, its own proof of work consensus mechanism, or its own proof of stake, which we don't really believe is secure enough to build kind of like civilization level software. We'd rather recycle Bitcoin and just reuse it. So what we do is we forward Bitcoin into the protocol to power our smart contracts. So there's no need for another proof of work chain. Bitcoin should be the only one. It's the most reliable, and we can keep it that way. So another thing too, as I mentioned earlier, each Stacks block settles on Bitcoin, although Stacks has microblocks for speed. So you're not waiting every 10 minutes necessarily for your smart contracts and all this sort of stuff to go through. And then lastly, like one thing I like to view, I like to kind of view Bitcoin as is this ultra high powered, high torque, predictable gear. And right now we look at it as digital gold, and I think that is a useful narrative. It acts as digital gold in my own life, but the reality is you can actually use it to power other gears. You can plug into it, and that's what we're doing in the Stacks ecosystem. So the timeline for Stacks and Bitcoin is we actually expect a massive amount of innovation occurring on top of Bitcoin. You know, like Bitcoin is sovereign money. It's already won that. It's already won that, in my opinion. It's the category winner. Now, what Stacks does is it's just fuel on top of Bitcoin, and you want to separate fuel from sovereign money. And so what we expect to happen is rapid generation of Bitcoin yielding protocols on top. We expect Bitcoin secured, wrapped Bitcoin. Like, why have wrapped Bitcoin on Ethereum when you can have wrapped Bitcoin at least in line with the Bitcoin ecosystem stack? Bitcoin secured stablecoins, DEXs, et cetera. And then you have like identity, data, and all that stuff, which is great. But ultimately, by the end of this decade, we predict that everything will actually collapse on the Bitcoin. And the way we're attracting developers right now is we're giving them superpowers. So we're giving them smart contracts that yield Bitcoin, as I mentioned earlier. We're giving them a smart contract language where what you see is what you get. We also have a huge community of Bitcoin centrists. These people put Bitcoin at the center of the picture and build around it. And second and lastly, we have grants from the Stacks Foundation, which is a $200 million foundation. They're constantly giving grants out for innovative people that are building. And then lastly, we have a $4 million accelerator at stacks.ac. This is run by Trevor Owens, who has like a huge past in running accelerators, as well as Eric Ries. Eric Ries is like the lean startup guy. He's like a Silicon Valley legend, and it's just like an amazing team. We're gonna see. My bet is we'll see like billion-dollar protocols coming out of there, and I'm very pro-growth when it comes to Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin should grow, and I think we should also grow outside of it as well. So in summary, we don't believe Bitcoin is just a rock. We want to think bigger. Bitcoin has an opportunity to power what eats other protocols' lunches. We have the ability to do that. We can think bigger. Cap tables exist. We all flew here on planes organized by companies that have cap tables as an organizing structure. We can't discount these things exist. We should anchor them all into Bitcoin and have Bitcoin be the settlement layer for all truth. This will create more demand for Bitcoin. This makes Bitcoin more valuable. And by not getting in our own way, we're gonna expand the pie for everyone, including Bitcoin. Thanks.
And thank you. If you guys have any questions, you're welcome to reach us here. We're going to hang out for 5 minutes, but you're also welcome to find us on Twitter. And hope this session encouraged you to find and discover the possibilities that still remain within Bitcoin. Thank you very much.